I mean, I can show you how to do it on the Mac.
No, on the computer, I already turned off the notification. So.
Oh, I can see it looks fresh. Good. Naiman.
All right, Alaina Malik. You guys ready? Let's do 5 minutes.
So what do we do now?
Ammar, I just have a quick question. How do
Sure.
you pronounce your last name? Is it hard C, Charani?
Charani.
Charani.
Yeah. But by the way, on the book, I don't use my last name even. Huh?
I saw that. I noticed that actually.
Because it's these things is not about. I want to make sure that whatever movement you create is not about a person. It's about the ideas themselves. So that's what you should follow. Because everybody wants to say Tony Robbins this or what's the other person's. Everybody is like they try to brand things to their name. And I think ideas and movement, true ones at least, they should be branded by the ideas themselves, not by the person. Plus, I mean, I have this whole philosophy about labels, that we should get rid of labels. And that's including stuff that we didn't choose. I didn't choose my name, my last name, where I was born, any of these stuff. So,
if you had to choose a name, what would you choose?
What would I choose? I don't know. Ammar is fine. Ammar is fine.
I think it's fitting. Ammar in Spanish actually means love.
And in Indian, it means like living for long life. In Arabic, it means builder. Builder. Yeah.
Ammar.
Yeah. Somebody who's like not just builder, excessive builder, which like fits with me because I'm always doing startups and ideas like this. So tell me whenever you're ready, we can start our
I'm ready.
Bubble meditation.
Elaine, you ready?
Yeah, but don't stress me out. Okay, we need to extra time. Okay.
It's we'll do it even if it's for a shorter time. Don't worry. Okay. So the first thing is just sit, relax. I mean, stand like if you can put your feet flat on the floor in there and just relax. Sit tall, so your spine is this. Align your spine with your neck. Put your hands on your knees. You can put them upward or downward. It's up to you. And just think about what is it that you're looking for at this moment. What do you wish for yourself at this moment? Happiness, success, fulfillment, $1 billion, whatever it is that you wish for yourself at this moment. Just think about that, and then imagine that there's a bubble that is growing from within you and just surrounding you, and you just say to yourself, for example, for me, I'm going to wish everybody to be safe and healthy. So I'm going to say, may I be safe and healthy. So we'll repeat that in our mind for a minute. Now expand the bubble to include your families and wish them the same. May we Now expand it more and add people that you work with. Now expand it to add people in your communities, your friends, your neighbors, and all the people who are going to be with us on this call. May we now expand it to include nature, all the nature around you, even your neighborhood, your city, and even the whole earth. May we now open your eyes with a big smile, big smile. So you squint in here, so your brain releases all these beautiful hormones, serotonin, dopamine. All right. How does that feel?
Relaxing.
It's really beautiful. You know what? You could use this. You could use this in meetings. You could use this before meeting, critical meetings, before you have to give a talk or you have to be making a presentation in your job or anything like that. And the best way is that you also imagine and bring in with you the people that you are meeting. And you'll be amazed, even if you have like a negotiation and it's going to be a hostile negotiation, you just imagine these people with you in the bubble and you wish them what you wish for yourself. And you will see when you walk in, the whole atmosphere changes, because our reactions will change. We now don't look at them as adversaries. We look at them as friends, people that we wish for them what we wish for ourselves. So it's a beautiful exercise. How long do we still have?
2 minutes.
All right.
Do you want to put your thing on the screen yet, or no? You're gonna do it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's the first thing they'll see when they go in. So perfect.
This is you guys. Actually, this picture.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, if I remove the book, I will see both of you.
Oh, really?
I'm more to the left. I was more back.
I know you were like here, because I got to see. I don't know if you guys got the pictures.
Yeah.
But I saw like I got to see all your smiling faces and concentrating, and you had like beautiful shots of all of you, like meditating and closing your eyes, and really nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Did they share the videos with you?
I don't think all of them.
No, we didn't get a video. We just got like the overview, like the 1 minute. I think I did in a few hours.
I haven't seen that one. If you could send it to me or the link, I would love to see it.
I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, me
They sent me the full thing. So I have like a huge file.
All right, I'll look into it. I'll put a note.
No
1
problem.
minute, and I'm gonna hit broadcast, and I'm gonna hit record. Okay.
Right.
So
Then, Francois, you're gonna kick it off once you broadcast.
So, would we know when we were live?
we're gonna broadcast at 6 o'clock on the dot. But you know how you'll know? You'll see the attendees. That number is gonna pop up. You're gonna see
Okay.
side, like attendees are gonna go up, like so you know that people are joining. So
Cool.
You can hear me okay, right?
all right, are you guys ready? 6. Ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Hold on.
Hello, everyone. I guess everyone's joining right now.
Come on, go ahead. Hey, cool.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to another great YNG webinar and YNG New York webinar. We have a great speaker coming up, and I'll let Julian introduce him in a second. By way of introduction, my name is Francois. I sit on the board of the YNG New York City chapter. While we give it a minute for everyone to log in, can you mention in the chat box where you're currently located? So I'm going to start. I'm based in New York City still. So we'd love to see where you are. Where are you, Julia? Can you go ahead? And Ammar as well. Mention the chat box where you guys are located.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julia. Oh, on the
All right,
chat box.
great. We got someone from Jordan, Chicago, Costa Rica. Whoa, that's pretty cool. Julia's in Maine. Ammar, you're in Florida, right?
Yes, I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Charleston, Utah. Come on, the newcomers. We want to know where you're from. No, maybe not. Montreal.
And maybe you can also mention what chapter of YNG or YPO you're in.
Yes. Well, New York, obviously. New York chapter. We've got Mexico City as well. New Year for life, yeah. Global One, I guess, the YPO chapter. We'll give another minute here. Oh, Greece as well. CMR, everyone's logging in to listen to your talk.
My
here.
goodness, Greece
around
is
the
like
world.
what, 7 or 8 hours ahead. So it must be 1 p.m., 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's pretty late over there.
But Greek are known for philosophy and wisdom, so I'm sure yeah, we'd love to have them on this.
Yes, we'll love their questions as well.
Don't make it too hard.
I guess we're ready. We can start launching. So before I'll hand it over to Julia to introduce our speaker. I just want to mention a few events that are coming up. The first one is on Monday. We have the meditation event that was sent, I think, this morning. We also have the Cameron Kaufman event next Wednesday at 6 p.m. ET. The invites will be sent out tonight. He's, I think, one of the youngest person running for the New York Congress, I think. But he'd be a great person. And if you're not in the New York chapter, please send us a note and we'll make sure to include you. Sorry, Assembly, New York Assembly. Thank you, Sid. Anyway, that being said, Julia, I'll hand it over to you. It's all you for now.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'd like to just introduce myself. My name is Julia Bialik. I'm on the board of YNG in New York City, and I'm also a senior wealth associate at Baker Avenue Wealth Management. So I'm really happy to be able to introduce our speaker for tonight, Ammar Charani. And tonight's event is called Transform Your Life, Transform the World, How to Find Happiness, Success, and Fulfillment with Your Purposehood. So I think that this is something that is really top of mind and relevant for right now. And Ammar is very uniquely positioned to discuss this topic with us. So I'm just going to go into Ammar's bio. So he spent 10 years with Sufi masters and religious scholars, studying, teaching, and serving as a cleric. Later, he focused on entrepreneurship, starting and seed investing in over 30 businesses, 4 of which are in YPO. And as a volunteer, he's a founding member of 11 YPO chapters spanning 4 continents. So he's also the founder of the YPO Changemakers Club, where members and spouses volunteer to speak at chapter events. He also holds an engineering degree and is a Harvard alumnus from the President's Program in Leadership. And after a near-death experience, followed by an 11-year deep dive into the meaning of life, today Ammar is focused on working with volunteers to spark a purposehood movement to help people transform their lives and the world by discovering and living their existential purpose. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Ammar and all of his words of wisdom. Just a few notes, this will be recorded, so please keep that in mind. You're welcome to submit your questions anonymously in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Ammar to start.
Thank you so much, and so happy to be with all of you. I tell you, I've done different events with YPO chapters and YPO Gold, and my favorite is always the YNG because you guys are just the future that we all hope for. And I'm amazed by the depth of understanding and wisdom and energy that you guys have. And I love always to be with YNGs. First, I have to apologize for the hairstyle. This is not my usual hairstyle, but as you know, we've all been quarantined and I've been without a haircut for a long time. I've been searching for this particular genius barber that I couldn't find, and I would have loved to see if I could get a haircut before today, but that person is not there. I couldn't find where she is hiding. What I would like to start, maybe to start with 2 icebreakers and questions that will get us going in the topic. So the first question that I have for you, have you ever thought about the purpose of your life? So Elaine, if we can run that poll. So you have a poll. If you have not used it before, you can go there and choose one of these choices. You have 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then we're gonna see the results. So do that. You can do it on your phone, your computer. Have you ever thought about the purpose of your life? All right, let's see the results. All the time, 52%. Once in a while, my God, 0 never. So you guys are in the right talk. The thing that I say, what is so important to think about the purpose of your life, because there's no answer to a question that you never ask. But if you never thought about the purpose of your life, even if your life's purpose just hit you in the face, you wouldn't even know that it is your purpose. So it's important to ask, and I'm glad to see that everybody had asked themselves once in a while. And 48% all the time, or 52%, amazing. The other question that I would like to ask you, this is I call the pyramid of fundamental desire. So on one hand, you have happiness. On the other hand, you have success, and then you have fulfillment. And what Aristotle once said, that if you keep asking people about what's driving them, and he said you dig deeper into the root of it, in his mind, he said the bottom desire is they want to be happy. But what I found when I start asking people, and I asked probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people, that I found that there are three fundamental desires that people want from whatever they tell you at the beginning. So there's happiness, there's success, and there's fulfillment. So my question to you is, at this time of your life, which one of the three are you pursuing? Are you pursuing happiness, success, or fulfillment? Let's run the second poll. I'm gonna take a guess just because you guys are YNGs, and let's see if I'm right or wrong. Once you're ready to close, once you close the poll, I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm not gonna look at the results. I'm just gonna guess that you guys at this age may be looking for, did you stop the poll? Success. Let's see, mainly. Yes! I guessed right. But, actually when you do this and you do, like, for example, for YPO gold, guess which one is the maximum, Julia? What do you think?
Probably happiness.
Fulfillment. That's about the YPOers at some age, actually, or the younger crowd, sometimes they talk about happiness. Yes, there's a mix of all. So this is great. And what I want to say is that hopefully at the end of this talk, you will realize that it doesn't matter which one you are pursuing, happiness, success, or fulfillment. If you actually follow the purpose of your life, you will get the other three anyway. So the other three, they just come as byproduct by pursuing the purpose of your life. And that's what we will talk about. So today, okay. My screen is now moving. A little technical difficulty. Oh, okay. All right, it moved. Moved a couple of times. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about the crisis and how crises actually are chances for transformation. I'm going to talk about the geniuses who emerge from these crises, leading a new world that we live in. And then I'm going to talk about the seed of potentiality that is in every human being and actually in every creature in existence. Then I'm going to talk about the jungle of life that we are living in today. And then why everyone actually needs to find the purpose of their life, which I call purposehood. And then I'm going to propose a transformation framework that anybody can adopt for themselves to transform their life, also their families, their businesses, their communities, and their relationship with nature. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the purposehood movement that we are starting with your help. So we all know this, what should I call? A foe, a friend, a fellow, a creature of nature. This is for you who do not recognize this beautiful looking creature, that's the coronavirus. And today we are going through some serious crisis with it. It's a global crisis. It's actually existential crisis where we feel that our own life is at stake here. And of course, millions of people are infected, hundreds of thousands are dead and still dying from it. So it's a serious, serious disaster that now putting us in our homes, stopping all the businesses. We all anxious about what's going to happen next. All the the after effect that's going to happen from the economy to the job market, etc. But I want us to also think that with every major crisis, there are always opportunities, always. So what happened in a crisis usually, there's a transformation that comes out of a crisis because of three things. Because you start thinking out of the box when you have a crisis. And the second thing is that you are willing to let go of the norms. And the third one is you unite around shared purpose. So for example, I'll give you two examples. During the First World War, when it was like a major disasters with tens of millions of people dying in there, that forced a new thinking outside of the box in terms of technologies, that created a new technology. Most actually the technology that we live with today was created during that crisis and right after that. The most of the science that we are now building on came from that area. Willingness to let go of norms. For example, I'll give one example. During that time, they had to get all the men to the front lines. Women were not supposed to go work, so they would stay at home. That was the aim, but they were forced to get women out to work. So that started the whole women liberation from that sense, allowing the society adopting a new norm of seeing the mothers and the spouses and the daughters going out to work. So that became a change. And then everybody united around a shared purpose, which is to bring peace to the world. Nobody wanted this devastation of the war. It was a gruesome war. So they thought about how can we create some type of peace. So they created the predecessor of the United Nations, which is the League of Nations. So they created that as a way to bring understanding and discussions among people so they don't get into war. And we see the same thing happening now with the coronavirus. We're thinking out of the box. All the old system that we had, now we are questioning them and we're saying, how can we get around that? So, with businesses, everybody is Zooming, including us in here from all over the world. We have the medical profession is now going through all these, passing through all these hurdles that they used to take years to approve a particular drug or process. Now we are doing it very quickly. Now, let me say here, when you go out of the box, you want to go out of the box in a reasonable way. You don't want to go out of the box to the point that you start drinking Clorox, to kill the coronavirus from inside of you, or put ultraviolet lights inside of you. Don't go that far out of the box, but we see that going out of the box. So the second thing is willingness to let go of norm. My God, have we been disrupting the norms that we all know? Anything from a simple handshake to a hug, all these are gone. One of the exercises we did in the workshop that we did in DC, where Julia and Francois were, we did like a laughing yoga. And after that, everybody hugs and shake hands. And I'm thinking, that's going to take a long while before this norm happened. So lots of the norms are being disrupted in here, the way that we are going. And the third thing, we are united around a shared purpose. And the shared purpose here, obviously, is to defeat this virus and find the vaccine and try to go on with life, living with this new creature that popped up. But actually, I think that there will be other shared purposes that they're going to come out of this, from the question that we are asking about what we have done in our habits, what we have done for climate change, for biodiversity, for the way that we operated businesses, for the way that we lived our life. And these going to create new purposes and shared purposes that people are going to gather around to create a transformation. And the result of that always comes, there's a new vision of the future. So these, some geniuses from among us, and they start creating a new vision of that future that we all start moving toward after this crisis. We come up with a new empowering beliefs, that, we thought that we could never do this. Now we think that we can do it. So this new empowerment belief will become the boundaries that will drive us toward that vision of the future. And we create new habits and practices that we didn't have before. Maybe as simple as washing our hands way much more often than we used to do, taking, 20 or 30 seconds, I forgot, and doing, this, and, I never thought about it this way, but all these habits, maybe some of the habits that we learned to cope with the stress, to deal with anxiety and so on, plus some social habits that will be added in here. So this will also be the results of this crisis that we did. The same thing happened in First World War, and actually that transformation was led by geniuses. And in this picture, you will see that's taken in 1927. I think you see in the middle there Einstein. But all these people, they were the top physicists in the world, the people who created the new physics, which we build everything now that we know, from our cell phones to the rocket ship that take us there. It's built on that physics and science that's done in there. Julia, do you see anything strange about this picture? You can unmute.
It's all men.
Yes. Did you see it? But actually, do you notice there's one woman? This is Marie Curie. She's sitting right there, like two people, like to the right of Einstein. Yeah, so that's the only one, So this was 1927. I think today, if we actually take a new picture of the people who are leading the world and creating a new vision of the world, we will see more women. But unfortunately, we're not going to see half-half, because this society still, we have not caught up to empowering women, giving them the same opportunity to shine, which is a disadvantage for the whole society because we're operating with half of our capacity. And those geniuses, they don't come just from physics, they come from all type of intelligence. So these could be artists, could be movie makers, could be people who have created new science of interpersonal science, intrapersonal science, philosophers who thinks about existentialism, like what I like to do, etc. And why these geniuses create that? Because they have the imagination. And imagination is much more important than knowledge, because you can actually create a vision of the future and then use the knowledge that you currently have and develop and evolve that knowledge to fit the vision of the future. And this is how we move forward. And this actually happened in NASA. So in 1967, NASA wanted to get a person on the moon. And in Apollo 1, unfortunately exploded. And it was a major disaster in there. So it could have derailed everything. But they were determined to continue with their vision. And they wanted to put a man on the moon by 1969. So in 1968, they wanted to they said, okay, let's find the geniuses among our employees, those people that we can assign to critical missions so they can react very quickly, solve any problem that happens with the astronaut and with the program that we have. So they said, okay, we're gonna find these geniuses. They looked for, they found this professor, Dr. George Land, who developed the test to find the geniuses among NASA's employees. And the common understanding at that time that the geniuses are 1 to 2% of the humanities are geniuses. They set the road and then everybody follows. So the question that I have for you now is, are you a genius? So please, let's run the poll. So let's say 2%, we have 41 people here, so we should have 0.8 geniuses, like somebody who's like 0.8 at least. Okay, let's end. Let's see how many geniuses we have. 13% geniuses. Wow, great. No, 45%, maybe 42, I'm not sure. So maybe they feel Sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't do well, and so on. So, well, what happened is Professor George Land, what he did, he developed that test and he ran that test for NASA employees. And what he found is that, okay, I think we have a little delay after the polls. Usually here it's just stuck. Sorry about that. Okay, let me unshare maybe. All right, worked here. So what he found is that 2% of NASA's employees are geniuses. And what he started wondering is why 2%, 2 out of every 100 people are actually geniuses. Are these people natured or nurtured? Were they born this way or not? And you know what? We're not going to run the next poll because it seems like every time we run the poll, we have a problem with this. So I'm just going to ask you and think about that, please, yourself. You can type actually in the chat and say if you think it's nature, these 2% are actually born this way, or no, maybe they are not born this way, they were made. So what do you think? Type something in the chat, please. So what I tell you what, so Professor Land did. He said, okay, you know, I'm going to take this test and I'm going to find out if actually people are born like this or not. If they are born like this, then if I tested in 4 or 5 years old, I should find at least 2%. If they are not born that way, maybe it's less than, 2%, and then slowly it will build up and become this 2% because of their parents, the education, the circumstances that they have. So what he did, he ran the test. He took 1,600 children from all around the US with different backgrounds, different ethnicity, different financial status, and so on. And he ran the exact same test that he gave to the NASA employees to find out who are genius. And what he found truly shocked him. What he found that 98% of children of the ages of 4 and 5 were genius at the level of these 2% of NASA employees. 98%, just imagine that. So in this, when I made this poll, you should have done, all of you actually be genius. So what happened? What happened? What happened to us? I mean, and if you look at the children, if you are around the children, you see that. I mean, children are unstoppable. They're not only happy, successful, fulfilled in everything they do. You just look at child. All the time they're happy. Happiness is a natural state of their being. Success, they never give up until they get what they want or they do what they want to do. And then they're fulfilled every day. They go to sleep at night feeling that they've done everything. But then we lose that. And what happened? So what he said, you know what? I'm just going to follow these people every 5 years and see what happened from there. So at the age of 10, they dropped to 30%. 68% dropped by the age of 10. And then by the age of 15, they were 12%. And by the time they were adult, it was back to 2%. And he ran that test on the adult on 1 million people after, and still it was 2%. So somehow we were born with this genius and then we lost it on the way. And why? And that's something that it took me a long time to reflect on. And what I realized that everything in nature, including plants and animals and all the creatures, we have something called the seed of potentiality within us. And within that seed of potentiality, there's desire, creativity, and direction. So for example, a pine tree, a pine seed, if you plant it in the proper ground and you give it proper nourishment, and you don't have restraints around it, then it has the desire to grow and survive and reproduce. It has the creativity. If it's challenged with any obstacle, it goes around the obstacle. And it has a direction, a very clear direction, to become the most beautiful pine tree that it can become. So that's a clear for an animal. For a human, though, we were meant to be playing a different role. So nature or existence gave us the same seed of potentiality, but a little bit modified. Our desires are not limited. We have infinite desires. We have infinite desires. You never see an animal obese, but people, I mean, we can eat until there's no stop. We want to have power. Having power over one person is not enough. We want to rule nations, and so on. So our desires are infinite, and also our creativities are limitless. We can imagine anything. And then we also have a directional choice. We are not forced to become a particular things. We can choose our direction in life. Let's explore this a little bit. So with what I call the pyramid of desires, we have 33 desires that actually direct our life. So first you have the basic desires. You have 16 basic desires. Then you have 10 essential desires that determine your role in existence. Then you have 3 fundamental desires. And then you have 1 existential desires. And then you have 3 trait desires or desired traits, which is to have more, better, and sooner. So these haste, betterment, and excessiveness. And in the basic desires, we see things like power, sex, self-esteem, nourishment, order, etc. These are the basic desires that we have. Then you have essential desires, that attraction, beautification, construction. These are the desires of the roles that we want to play in life. And then you have their fundamental desires, which they go down to 3: happiness, success, and fulfillment. And finally, we have a desire to figure out why we were put on this earth. Why are we on this earth? And that's our existential desire. When it comes to creativity, we have the ability to reimagine the past, imagine a new future, and deal with whatever challenge that we have here in the present. And when it comes to direction, we have the choice to choose the direction that we want to be in our life. And I say we have 4 main choices in the direction there. We can choose to be directionless, misguided, like consumers. So it's all about consuming and satisfying our selfish desires. We could be the opposite, martyrs, not worry about ourselves and just give everything. We could be destroyers, where we actually care about ourselves and maybe smaller group of people, but don't care about anybody else. Or we can be creators, where we're thinking about the role that we want to play to make better of our life and everybody else. So this is the choices that we have in here. We are born in this, what I call the Garden of Eden, or the land of potentiality, with this amazing power, but only for a few minutes. And then we're given those, desires to become actually creators. But what happened is we are moved quickly to the jungle of life, and we are given a name, a nationality, an ethnicity, a religion, and sometimes a religious sect, none of which we have chosen. And then we live the rest of our life chained by those labels that were given to us, the expectations of the people around us, and the limiting belief that later on we add to ourselves when we grow up. And at one point we feel that we are so stuck in this jungle of life. And in the jungle of life, we are taught that we should climb the pyramid of desire, like the Maslow pyramid, if you're familiar with it. You start by satisfying your basic needs, and once you satisfy those, then you look for your essential needs, and then this is what they call the hierarchy of needs. And then from there you can look for happiness, success, and fulfillment, and maybe one day before you die, you will figure out the purpose of your life and why you exist on this earth. And with that, what we end up understanding happiness, success, and fulfillment in the wrong way. We define them based on the desires that we want in here. So happiness becomes a pleasure, success becomes about money or achievements, and fulfillment becomes about possessions. And with that, we become living in this jungle, chained with the labels, and feeling this. Feeling stress, anxiety, regrets, living with the scarcity of feeling that we never had enough, suffering, rejection, and we feel that vacuum in our life. And that's natural because this is our seed of potentiality is growing like this. How could a plant grow to become a beautiful anything if it's grown from this crack? And we see this in the jungle of life. If we just look at some of the stats that we are living with today, on gender gap, it takes 108 years before they estimate before we can actually close the gender gap in there. We feel we have 40% of our seniors are lonely, which is as damaging as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We have, by 2050, they estimate that we need 3 Earth, 3 the size resource, just to maintain the lifestyle that we already have. Even in some of the most beautiful cities, 1 out of 4 urban residents live in slums. And our relationships within our families is becoming like this when we sit and spend 7 hours on average staring at screen, really disconnected relationships. And our relationships with others are transactional and superficial, and nature is of course struggling with everything. Our relationship with nature is broken. And when it comes to violence, 50% of the world children experience violence. And every 5 minutes, somewhere on earth, a child is killed by that violence. So this is the jungle of life that we live in. And we are stuck here. And we're feeling stressed, anxious, full of regrets. So how do we get out of there? Well, in that jungle, if you just keep always running away from fears and running after desires, it's very hard for any one of us to find a direction to get out of there. So what we need to do, we need to look up to the sky. We need to find our Purposehood guiding star, a guiding star that can show us a way out of the life that we've been living. And why Purposehood is so transformational? Well, for one, having a purpose in life, this is what I'm showing here is the end note in my book, which I quote around 100 pieces of research. And I've read much more than that. And there are thousands of pieces of research that show that a key to having happiness, success, and fulfillment is knowing the purpose of your life. And this whole thing started with this guy, Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian psychiatrist who ended up in the concentration camp. And there he found that most of the people, they lost the will to live. And one of the person came to him and he said, "Doctor, I want to commit suicide." So he said, "Well, why do you want to commit suicide?" The person said, "Well, I have nothing to look for in life. I'm in this concentration camp. What is there for me to look for?" So what Victor told him, he told him, "Well, could it be, is it possible that maybe life is expecting something from you?" So by that simple question that he asked him, could life be expecting something from you? The guy thought about it and he said, "You know what? I was a professor. I wrote this, there's this book that I want to write that has all my knowledge, and I was not able to finish it. And maybe, maybe life needs me to finish that book." And with that simple mind shift toward a purpose, toward something beyond the misery that they were in, his outlook changed. That person's outlook changed. And Victor said that those who, he agreed with Nietzsche, who said those who have a why to live can bear with almost anyhow. And what he created this formula, he said, well, despair equals suffering without meaning. But if you add meaning to suffering, then it becomes accomplishment. And his main focus was about depression. And he said, every human has a desire to discover the purpose of their life. Otherwise, this is the existential desire. Otherwise, their life would feel meaningless and empty, leading to depression. And what do we see today? 264 million people of all ages are depressed. 15 mainly people between the ages of 15 and 29. So that includes most of you in the danger zone. I don't mean that you guys are depressed. And it's twice more women than men. And sadly, some of this depression leads to suicide. And we have 1 million people every year commit suicide. And for every one suicide, there are 25 attempts. So imagine 25 million people try to take their life every year. So there's something that is not working there. And even though we know that it's important for us to find the purpose of our lives, people are not doing it. And in the other research, they found that actually it's a major source for well-being. And I'll give you one research. They did that in the University of Texas. They took 2,000 students and they asked them about the purpose of their life. They found the group A, which did not have a purpose in life, and a group B, which had a purpose in life. What they found in a group A, that these people, they abused drugs more, they were more anxious, lonely, depressed, and they ultimately dropped out of the school. The people who had a purpose in life, they had a greater well-being, self-awareness, shared learning, they have sense of direction, focus on their studies, and higher grades. So what actually they said, maybe let's try something else. So they went to the group A and they said, let's do one session of rethinking about the purpose of their life, just like what we're doing now. And when they worked with these guys and they asked them about the purpose of their life, they found that the majority of them, just with one session, they moved from group A to group B. Their grades improved, their relationships improved, their health improved, etc. And when it comes to work, for example, we have this idea of work-life balance, which I don't believe in, because the moment that you say work-life balance, you separate work from life. That's the third of our time. We spend the third of our life in work. And if I separate these two, then I'm not living the third of my life. So work has to become part of our life. And to become part of our life, we need to be able to live our purpose at work. Now, the result that we see today is this in the Gallup study. 87% of employees are disengaged. 19% of those disengaged are actively disengaged, trying to destroy the business they work for. So these people that they find no purpose in the work that they are in. However, you have two choices as a person. You can say, okay, well, let me find a job that aligns with my purpose in life, that's your right. Or you can say, whatever work that I have, let me create a purpose in the work environment that I do. And that's possible because you are a creature of choice. Actually, in a study done by NYU, they took 28 hospitals, they took the cleaning crews in there, and by asking them about their jobs, they found that there are two groups, group A and B. In one group, they looked at their work, their cleaning work, as a task. They're getting paid for, so they just finish their task, and that's it. They're done with it. The other people, they looked at it as a mission. They are part of the healing process. They are assisting the nurses and the doctors and the patients to heal. And those people, they found their job more meaningful. They enjoyed it. They worked after hours. They were always smiling. They felt happy. They felt successful, and they felt fulfilled. So it's the same job, just a different mindset. One is focused on a higher purpose, one is not. And in businesses, I'll go very quickly with this. In businesses, you have companies they studied 1,500 companies. Companies who have a higher purpose, they outperform the competitor by 4 times. And in this study by Harvard, if you took $1 in 1994, invested it in 2 companies who do exactly the same, but one with purpose, one without, does not have a higher purpose, in 10 years, or that's 20 years, you could have doubled the money by betting on the one with purpose. The other thing that they found about purpose is that about longevity. So in a study that done by National Geographic, they were looking for the people who live above 100 years. And they found 5 areas around the world where small communities where people live to above 100 years. And they found 9 common denominators among all of them. 2 of them they could attribute directly to a longer life. The first one was that added 7 years to a person's life is knowing why you wake up in the morning, having a clarity of purpose. So when you have a clarity of your existential purpose, of your purposehood, you wake up in the morning and you know why you're waking up, that adds 7 years to your life. Other studies show that with women, elder women, that when they wake up in the morning, the ones who know the purpose of their life, their cortisol level is much lower, the stress hormones in them. The second one that they can attribute to 14 years was belonging, having good relationships. But what kind of relationships? In the Harvard study that they've done for 75 years over people, they found it's not having enough relationship or lots of friends or lots of connections and likes on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, but it's about the quality of the relationships that you have. And those quality relationships are always built around shared purposes. So when we have shared purpose or shared direction in life, then these relationships give us that strength. So the question that I ask, we know all this research, amazing research. All these studies are out there for everybody to look at. Why are we still stuck in this jungle of life? Why we still have 450 million people suffering from mental illnesses? That's including stress, anxiety, and so on. Why? And I can give one quick answer in here. It's quick fixes. We're always looking for quick solutions. So we think that, okay, well, maybe if I start meditating, then everything is going to be resolved. Or if I start doing yoga, or if I eat right, or maybe if I exercise. And every new fad comes in and then it goes away and we change for a little bit, but then we go back to the way that we were. And then we have all this self-help industry that is trying to give us one solution for this. And if you do this and 12 step to that, etc. Some of us go to psychedelic and drugs, and even the worst is those pharmaceutical drugs that becomes like a quick fixes that solve the face of the issue, but not the issue itself. In reality, transformation does not happen that way. Transformation, like we saw before from the crisis, happens with the 3 things. You need a forward-pulling existential theory, you need empowering beliefs, and you need practices. Why we need the first one? Because we are put on this earth facing forward with information from the past. So if we don't have an existential forward-pulling existential theory to pull us forward, we'll always be stuck in the past. And the second thing, we're living with all these limiting beliefs. So until we get rid of them and have a new empowering beliefs, we will not have the boundaries that will keep us going in that direction. And the third thing that you need is the practices and habits that fuel your journey going forward. And what I see, like, for example, in the workshop that I've done, we usually do like a workshop like the one we did together, Julia, in DC. That one focused on number 1. How do you find your purposehood guiding star and write your purposehood statement? What happened that I found that only few people from there actually follow through. And from that session, we had 130 people, 20 people still follow up actually with me on that, and they're looking for understanding more of how they can live their existential purpose. But the most of them afterward, they feel something clear, but then they drop off the rail from there because they did not continue with the process. You need to create those empowering beliefs and create those habits that do that. And this is what the purposehood philosophy or the purposehood framework proposes. It proposes an existential theory that we call it POET, the purposehood of everything theory, 27 propositions or empowering beliefs that you can look at, reflect on, and then create for your own. And then a set of 3 different practices. The second one The 5 daily practices literally take 20 minutes only a day, but they will change your life. And without going into lots of the details, this you will find it in the book, but the theory that I propose here is that everything in existence has an existential purpose, and the existential purpose of everything is to evolve and expand exponentially. And with this simple equation, I believe that we can derive our own purposes, the purpose of our families, businesses, and communities and societies. Then you have 27 beliefs for you to reflect on and create your own, and then this set of practices. The middle ones that take 20 minutes a day, the other ones, the beliefs, mindfulness, giving, wellness, and belonging, are essential to break any bad habit that you have. It doesn't help just to meditate to break a habit. You gotta work first on your belief and then go to mindfulness, giving, and belonging. What happened from there? Once you have that basis, then you can look at that pyramid of desire, and by simply flipping that pyramid, now you have a pyramid of value. And where you start from the bottom with your existential desire, find the purpose of your life. Then you define happiness to fulfill that purpose, and then you look for jobs not to satisfy the basic desires, but to actually give you happiness, success, and fulfillment. And then the basic desires will be enough to fuel your journey forward. And you will understand then that happiness is truly the journey, it's not the pleasure. And you understand that success is the growth, regardless of the ups or downs, the failures. You know, if you are growing, then you are successful. And fulfillment is not having more, but having better use of your lifetime, the only currency that you actually control. And with that, the negative state of living that we are living in today will change to become positive states of living with a life of gratitude, ease, and abundance, where happiness, success, and fulfillment is every step of the way. And I know that this is lots of information, especially on a Zoom, to do, but if there's one thing that I would want you to remember from this talk is remember this, that happiness, success, and fulfillment are like your shadow. If you face it and run after it, it runs away from you. But if you turn your back on it and you face your existential purpose, your purposehood guiding star, and you go toward it, then they will automatically follow you. And with that, I just want to say that we are building this purposehood movement to help every human discover and live their purposehood with unleashed potentiality. And I believe with that, when we do personal transformation, we will transform our families, our work environments, our community, and the relationship that we have with nature. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Ammar. That was a great talk. We have a few minutes left, so I think if we want to take any questions, now's the time. So if you want to type in your questions in the Q&A box, that would be great. So we can start. Here we go. So Ammar, is there a practice that you can share with us from the Purposehood method that can help us during this stressful time?
Yeah, I will share with you the simplest one, and I think it's my favorite. And actually, we have it on this armband in here. It's called, let me put the slide here. It's called Pause, Breathe, and Smile. It's actually very simple, and it takes 51 seconds. And if you do it 5 times a day, it takes less than 5 minutes. But it's amazingly powerful. Why? Because we are living as a reaction. You know, we have stimulants, and then unconsciously we react to these stimulants, and we are driven by that instead of by our own conscious mind. So you need to create a separation between whatever is pushing you to react and what you should be reacting. So you need to create a pause. So what you do, you just pause for 10 seconds to create that space, and then you anchor yourself in your breath. When you anchor yourself in your breath, you realize that this is the most important things in life. It doesn't matter what kind of stress you're facing, what kind of anxiety. If you're not breathing, you're not going to feel anxiety and stress, but you're dead. So the most important thing, the highest priority, is your breath. So when you anchor back to it and you think about it, you know that you still have the most important thing in life. So what you do in this practice, you pause for 10 seconds, and then you breathe 3 times, taking in from your nose 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, letting out 8. And you do that 3 times. And the last thing, when we finish, you smile for 5 seconds, and you do a big, big, big smile. So your brain will releases melatonin, the serotonin and dopamine, and make you feel good. So maybe we can do it together, Francois, Julia. Let's do it. It takes 51 seconds. So let's just do it in here. So pause. Now breathe in 4. Breathe out 8. And now big smile for 5 seconds. Big smile, big smile. Show some teeth. Yes. Squint. This is how people recognize that you are smiling. Fantastic. So after that, and you could do it anytime, and then continue whatever you're doing, and you'll see that you actually change your state at that moment. And do that every time you feel stressed, anxious, before a meeting, in the middle of any study that you are doing or presentation that you're making. Just take that time and do it. And I love doing it actually in a group. So we do it at work with the groups. Everybody has the right to call a pause, and then we all do it together, which create that common sense of doing things together, that we have a common practice that we do, which is really, really great and simple to do. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Francois, can you take the next question?
Yes. So I know we had, it took a while. We had done that when we were at the summit. But how can you give some tips and advice into how we can find our existential purpose?
Well, that took a long, it's not a complicated process. Again, this thing is not brain surgery nor rocket science. It's a process that you have to go through. And we went through it in the session. And I think, Julia, do you remember yours? Did you have yours?
Yes, I can share it if you would like.
Yes, actually. So what it is, the Purposehood guiding star is a statement that we write after some reflections. So we do some reflections and we write that, and I would love to hear yours.
Okay, so this is something that I worked on quite a bit during our workshop in DC, and also I've had discussions with Ammar since then about it. So my Purposehood statement is to be a confident, empowered leader and mentor for my peers, so they in turn can be confident, empowered leaders and mentors for theirs. That's just an example of a Purposehood statement. It's something that I revisit and think about almost every day, and it really helps to give me direction and clarity.
Beautiful, beautiful. And actually, so the whole process in the book, so if you go to the book, there's a whole process that will take you through writing your own Purposehood statement. And please feel free to reach out to me at any time. If you have any questions, I'll put my email at the end. If you have any questions, just feel free to call on me, and I'm more than happy to help you. We're also actually going to have with YPO, I think Moscow, and then other YPO chapters, we're going to have a course for 2 weeks. Each one is a 3-hour session that we're going to go deep into doing this. So I hope some of you will join us, and we can do that then too.
All right, I think so. We can have one more question. So I think you sort of touched upon this, but how can we be part of this movement, and what can we do to learn more?
I'm glad you asked, and just happened to have a slide that talks about this. So I think the first thing that I hope you will do is you'll take the time to read the book. Now, the book is not the easiest book to read, I have to say that, but it's not complicated neither. It takes lots of reflections, and actually many people found it very enjoyable. So I hope you take the time to read that and understand that philosophy and go through it. Go through creating your own existential, forward-pulling existential theory, empowering beliefs, and select for yourself practices that can fit for you. So do that. You also could join some of these courses that we are doing for YPO, different chapters. We have like one for 2 weeks, and then for those people who want to become coaches or head of HRs or business leaders, they want to help their families, counselors, teachers, they can, or forum moderators. They can do like a 10-week course. Every week we do 3 hours. It's done the Harvard YPO style. So you work in group for 3 hours, and then we do the session. And we're building this app that hopefully will be out soon on iOS. So I hope that you can, it has all the 5 daily practices. Slowly, we're going to add to it lots of the other practices that we have in there to make it easy for everybody to create those habits. You could also volunteer on purposehood.org. We're getting people who click on there and then they say, how can I help in different directions? And that's a great way to get involved in there. The least you can do is just follow us on one of these social media things.
Great. All right, thanks, Ammar. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to leave here. Sorry, I'm going to leave just here my email. Please feel free to reach out to me. I mean, I love hearing from YNGs. I love hearing from those amazing people that I spoke to. It really just enriches my life. And my purposehood statement is that I want to inspire people to live their purposehood because I want to live mine. So when you talk to me, that actually does not take from my time. It actually gives me pleasure. So please feel free to reach out, and I'm more than happy to help.
All right. Thank you so much, Ammar. Thank you for spending the time to talk with us about all this interesting stuff. The Purposehood movement, it really does resonate with me. It makes me feel really empowered. So that's why I wanted to share it with this community to empower you all to begin the quest to find your own purposehood. So I hope we've accomplished that and that you've taken something away from this chat. And also encourage everyone to create their own purposehood statements as well. And Ammar, you say that you're available. It's true. Like I contact Ammar all the time and we talk. So he really likes to talk to us. So you can definitely use him as a resource.
Remind me to send you the bill.
Okay. All right. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for your time. And we're over by a couple of minutes, but that's the end of the night. And I hope you have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure.